Varidhari Yasoda Nandana Pratajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Pratajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayarādha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaridhari Yasoda Nandana Pratajana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Pratajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayarādha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayarādha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaridhari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayam Vishnu Pada Paramahamsa Parivajakacharya Astatar Satashi Srimad Abhaya Charanada Vindabhakta Vinata Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Gauranga. Jai. De todas glorias a los devotos reunidos. Todas glorias a la Srila Prabhupada. Prabhu? Thank you very much. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritta Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavata Utamashloke Bhagavati Bhakti Ahitaki. Hare Krishna. Good morning. My name is Mishra Bhagavan Das. I came here to listen to the Srimad Bhagavatam class. And then I was asked to give the Srimad Bhagavatam class, which I think anybody should be willing to do. All of you are learned devotees. Don't be afraid to give Bhagavatam class. Everybody has something to say. We all got a story to tell about the miracle of Krishna consciousness, how it's come into our lives, how we were saved by Srila Prabhupada and his disciples and grand disciples that have gone all over the world to spread the teachings of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We're reading from the first canto, chapter 13, text 25. Tasyāpi tava dehaḥ ayam kṛpaṇasya jīrṇo paraiti anicchato jīrṇaḥ jarayā vāsasī iva tasyāpi tava deho ayam kṛpaṇasya jijīviṣoḥ paraity anicchato jīrṇo jarayā vāsasī iva. Please. Tasyāpi tava deho ayam deho ayam Give it a try. Tasyāpi tava deho ayam kṛpaṇasya jijīviṣoḥ paraity anicchato jīrṇo jarayā vāsasī tasyāpi tava deho ayam kṛpaṇasya jijīviṣoḥ paraity anicchato jīrṇo tasya. Of this, api, in spite of, tava, your, deho, body, ayam, this, kṛpaṇasya, of one who is miserly, jijīviṣoḥ, of you who desire life, paraity, will dwindle, anicchato, even unwilling, jīrṇaḥ, deteriorated, jarayā, old, vāsasī, garments, iva, like. Translation: Despite your unwillingness to die and your desire to live, even at the cost of honor and prestige, your miserly body will certainly dwindle and deteriorate like an old garment. Please repeat. Despite your unwillingness to die and your desire to live even at the cost of honor and prestige, your miserly body will certainly dwindle and deteriorate like an old garment. The words kṛpaṇasya, jīrṇaḥ are significant. There are two classes of men. One's called the kṛpaṇa, and the other is called the brāhmaṇa. The kṛpaṇa, or the miserly man, has no estimation of his material body. But the Brahmin has a true estimation of himself and the material body. The kṛpaṇa, having a wrong estimation of his material body, wants to enjoy sense gratification with his utmost strength, and even in old age he wants to become a young man by medical treatment or otherwise. Dhṛtarāṣṭra is addressed herein as a kṛpaṇa because without any estimation of his material body, he wants to live at any cost. Vidura is trying to open his eyes to see that he cannot live more than his term, and that he must prepare for death. Since death is inevitable, why should he accept such a humiliating position for living? It is better to take the right path, even at the risk of death. Human life is meant for finishing all kinds of miseries of material existence, and life should be so regulated that one can achieve the desired goal. Dhṛtarāṣṭra, due to his wrong conception of life, had already spoiled 80% of his achieved energy, so it behooved him to utilize the remaining days of his miserly life for the ultimate good. Such a life is called miserly because one cannot properly utilize the assets of the human form of life. Only by good luck does such a miserly man meet a self-realized soul like Vidura, and by his instruction gets rid of the nescience of material existence. So in this day and age, we have a society that's throughout the world that's all based on the trying to satisfy the senses of the material body. And this is the grossest type of degradation, and there's an absolute need for Viduras to educate people like Dhṛtarāṣṭra, even at the present moment. So the body, material body, goes through 6 different transformations. My mother lived to be 91 years old, and during the last few months of her life, it was the doctors said that there's no way that she's going to go on much longer. You know, they were able to analyze the situation. So I sent her well, the first thing I did was I went to visit her, and I live in Dallas, Texas, Radhakalachandji-Dham, and my mother is living in Seattle. That's a pretty stout drive. It's like going from here to Bombay. It took a while. And then when I got there, we took my mother to the temple, so that, because she, although I had been a devotee for a while, she'd never taken any interest in Krishna consciousness until her husband died, or she married after my father. And my mother came from a pretty well-to-do background. She tried to always live a kind of a classy life, and she liked to do things to enjoy, like going, she would take cruises around Alaska, you know, on these cruise ships, and she liked to go to weddings and social get-togethers, And then her body started, it just started breaking down, you know. So we took her to the temple, and then she got to be exposed to Krishna consciousness, which is the only hope, you know, for all of us in the material world to revive our spiritual identity and to be able to have a happy life in the future. So she sat there and listened to the Bhagavad Gita class by Hari Vilas Prabhu for 1 hour and 39 minutes, which is pretty impressive for anybody. It was, they had one of those digital clocks, so I knew exactly how long the class was. And then she had a question that, why is it that good people have to suffer? You know, why does God do that to us? And then Hari Vilas answered that it's a wake-up call, that you have to understand that this material world is not a place just to enjoy. It's a place where there's a lot of miseries. There's the miseries that come from the weather, there's miseries that come from other people and living entities, there's miseries that come from our own body and mind, right? You know, sometimes we have sleepless nights and we have a big disturbance, you know, something's wrong. So she got to see the deities. She Radha Nila Madhava and took prasadam. There were some older Indian ladies there that she was able to kind of relate to, you know, and they sat and took prasadam together. And this was really purifying for her. She bought a little statue at the gift shop of Radha and Krishna on the swing and put it on top of her television. So just a few days before she left her body, she received a letter from me. And I had quoted in my letter, I wrote what I read in the Bhagavad Gita in one of Prabhupada's purports, that this material body has 6 different transformations. That first you're born, right? Anybody remember being born? But we're pretty sure it happened, right? So then there was you grow up and then reproduce. You know, this is that time of your life, you fall in love, and there's the romantic time, you finish school and you get your job, get your family together, and start going into the next phase, which is called work. Then comes a whole lot of work. You have to, whether you're the mother or the father, you have to raise your children who always want a lot of things, you know, and then these family members are not so easy to satisfy. So you constantly have to make economic development and then pay for clothes and build a house and get a car, or if you're in America you have to get 2 cars, and then you need then the children need cars, and then there's 3 cars, and then if you have 2 children, well then there's 1, 2, 3, 4 cars, and then you have to maintain the insurance and the petrol and the expense, you know, when the radiator goes out. And then you go into what's called dwindling. Oh, dwindling, yes. The body, you get your games on, you know, maybe you're successful, really successful, like you become a pro football player. I work in Dallas Cowboy. I work in the Cowboy Stadium in Dallas. That's my job. I do audio-visual work, and there's these football players. You know, they're really big people, and they're totally, you know, in the prime of their life. You know, between like 25, 35 years old, and they can throw a football, and they run down the field, and then they catch it. You know, and then the whole crowd's like, yeah, Cowboys win. So then that body starts to dwindle. Oh, it's aches and pains. Oh, the football player has to retire. You know, he can't run so fast anymore. He can't catch the ball anymore. And then dwindling gets worse and worse. Has anybody ever seen the picture in the Bhagavad Gita of the changing bodies? Right? It's sort of like a a fan, that opens up. It starts off a little baby, ding, 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 and then in the middle, you like, yeah, I'm feeling great, and then it starts going, like a staircase, and then you start getting like your first gray hairs, right? And at first maybe like you pull them out and like, oh, I don't want to see that, and then it's just like the whole head goes gray, and then the different organs start wearing out, because the body's it's like an automobile, and then the parts start, the parts that are using again and again, they start not working. So then eventually the whole thing just becomes uninhabitable. The body just breaks down to the point where the soul just can't stay in it anymore, because the heart stops, the breathing stops, and then it's like in a hospital, they have there's life there, and then it's like suddenly the body's coming to a close, and then the soul has to leave that body, and then it's gone. They have a machine that recognizes that the life force is going, but it's going away, it's passing, and then it goes, and then finished. So what happens then? Well, some people would like to say that's the end of it, but we all know that we always know we exist, right? Can you imagine not existing? Like, think about what you're going to do this afternoon. It's something, right? Nobody's thinking about that we're not going to exist anymore this afternoon. So that's because you're eternal. You're always existing, and you can never conceive of not existing. So the body dies, and then there's the Yamadutas or the Vishnudutas. Somebody comes to get you. Just like if you order a taxi when you come into Calcutta, and then that person they come to get you, like they have a sign that says, Mishra Bhagavan Das, or whatever your name is, here's a sign, and then you're like, oh, okay, great, I'm fine, somebody's here for me. So then, or maybe you have some family members, a loved one, and then they come to pick you up, and you get in the taxi, right, and you can come to Mayapur. That's nice. So when you leave your body, there's somebody that comes to get you and take you on to the next place, and depending on how you've lived. So there's a Bengali book that we've been distributing lately. In the morning, Jīrṇaḥ Prabhu has some of us help distribute Prabhupada's books. So one of the books is called The Second Chance. It was about a person who lived a bad life, but then he chanted the holy name, Narayan. He had a little boy, his name was Ajamil. So then the Vishnu Duta showed up, and it was because there's two different kinds of personalities that come to get you when you die. Well, first of all, or if you die like through suicide or get killed in battle or a car accident, some kind of sudden death where it's not, your next body is not ready for you yet, because you're off schedule. So then you spend time as a ghost, and a lot of people are fascinated with ghosts. Ghosts are, when you dream, you're in a ghost body, right? And then it's called mind intelligence and false ego. You see, the body has different coverings. The outside body is earth, water, fire, air. It has the 5 senses, and that's called the physical gross body. And then there's the subtle body, which is made out of mind intelligence and false ego. It's is something that you basically dream up. Like, if you ever feel like committing suicide, try to consider that you're just going to become a ghost. You might think, oh, I'm going to end it all, but you don't. All you do is you make your situation even worse. Like right now, you have a physical body that you can use in Krishna service, and you can take prasadam, and you can chant Hare Krishna with it, and you can dance in ecstasy. So if you get depressed and you want to commit suicide, just consider that you're not going to you're only going to make your situation worse, because then all of a sudden you're a ghost, and everybody you see everybody, but nobody can see you. And ghosts are the paranormal. A lot of people are kind of fascinated by ghosts. You know, they find them spooky, and they have like wow, I saw a ghost. You know, like there was in Dallas one time, there was a lady that I sold one of Srila Prabhupada's books to, and a few months later, she was standing on waiting for the bus. She wasn't out in the street; she was right up on where the bus stop is, and she had no reason to believe that what was going to happen next was that a car came up off the street and up the curb and ran right into her, and then it just knocked her out of her body, and her material body just went splat. There was the remains on the ground. I hope this is not too scary for you, but this is this is the kind of thing that happens in the material world. So I remember I was with some other devotees, and we thought, let's go to do some kirtan where she died, because she was a little interested in Krishna consciousness, bought a book, and we wanted to try to maybe reciprocate, try to send her on her way. So I remember I came around the corner and saw her as a ghost, and she looked at us like what happened? Why am I in this position? What I didn't do anything wrong, and then suddenly now I'm dead, And then we walked closer, and the closer we got, then the vision just disappeared. Then we couldn't see her anymore. So then we lit some incense and did a little arti and kirtan part, and tried to purify the atmosphere there so that she could get the mercy of Krishna. And that's what the devotees do. They give everybody the mercy of Krishna, because otherwise life is just going through those 6 transformations, and then whatever you build up in life is finished at the time of death. And then you lose your everything. Just like Prabhupada was talking, there's a video of Prabhupada talking to this professor in Los Angeles. And the professor was trying to be cordial with Prabhupada without, losing. He didn't want to join. But Prabhupada, to see his hesitancy, and Prabhupada said that anybody who claims that there's no God is a madman. And then the man said, well, couldn't you just say, that seems kind of harsh, couldn't you just say that maybe they're stupid, or not just a little lacking of intelligence? And Prabhupada said, yes, madness is this sum total of all stupidity. So it was a light moment, and everybody laughed, And then Prabhupada came on kind of strong, He said that one day Krishna will come and take your everything. And that's what happens, everybody, they build up their life, and then they may have great success, but then they have to die. Like the president of North Korea, Kim Jong. And he believed, he was a firm believer that there's no God in control. He was the head of the Communist Party in Korea. And the philosophy of the Communist Party is that there's no such thing as God. That everything that we're doing, all this worship, our chanting and our puja and our worship of Krishna, that's all just superstition. And everybody who believes in God and goes to churches, it's like they're on some kind of drug or something, an opiate of the people. They're all so stupid, they think that there's something called God, and we're much smarter. So he had that philosophy, but then Krishna, for people like that, Krishna comes, they get to meet Krishna, but Krishna only in the form of death. Krishna comes in. And then he had to die and leave his body. Even though he had millions of people saying, long live the leader, long live the leader. But the leader didn't live long. And then, so he lost, he had everything to lose. There was nothing for him and no bright future after the Yamadutas got hold of him. He lost everything that he had achieved. And because if we don't become Krishna conscious, everything we achieve in this world is lost. I had this realization one time. I was in Germany, and I was visiting some devotees that were in Bochum, Germany. And the nearest Krishna temple was in Cologne. So Cologne, Germany and Bochum, Germany are pretty far apart from one another, about 2 hours on the train. So I was visiting Gangadhar and his family, and I woke up in the morning and everybody in the house was asleep. So I decided to go out and chant my japa. So I was walking through this park, and it was about 7 in the morning, and there was nobody else in the park. And so it was really kind of lonely, except I had the Hare Krishna mantra. I was chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I realized that actually this Maha Mantra is all I've got. It really is the only thing. If we're so fortunate to be able to receive the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra from a devotee, and be able to chant and hear that holy name and Cheto Darpana Marjana, purify our heart and become eligible to go to the spiritual world or enter into Krishna's pastimes or follow into Srila Prabhupada's pastimes, the ISKCON in the spiritual world. He said there's an ISKCON in the spiritual world. There's something to look forward to. We have to leave our body and everything with it, our whole family, all of our property, everything that was dear to us is left behind. But if we chant Hare Krishna, if we have the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, that's something that we don't have to leave back in this material world. That's something that we get to take with us. What a special gift, huh? When you receive the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, like when we get initiated, what's called Harinam initiation, you receive the Maha Mantra from the Guru. And then you can chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And this, you can die, but you just keep on chanting. You can just keep on chanting. I've had a couple of dreams where I've died. One time I was dreaming that I was in San Francisco trying to get to the Golden Gate Bridge, and there's this big winding road, and I was with Krishna Balaram Swami, and then somehow we flew off the road, and then it was a long ways, and I could see that we were going to, this is definitely time that we're going to leave our body, because we're flying heading towards the rocks. The rocks are very sharp in San Francisco. So I was just trying to took shelter of the holy name. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And I woke up chanting. And I was like, whew, that was a scary dream. But I took shelter, and I just kept on chanting. I chanted my rounds. So that's the great mercy. That's what that's called being saved by the moment's association of a pure devotee, is that receive the Maha Mantra, and we can chant Hare Krishna, and in this way go back home, back to Godhead. So, are there any questions or comments about this verse? Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhu, you mentioned the lady who got the book from you, and then suddenly the car hit her, and then you saw her in the ghostly form. Related to that, I got a question. Prabhupada also mentions that people enter a comatose condition, into a coma, when they have a lot of attachment to the body and to their belongings, and so it takes time for them to leave the body and then go. So in this connection, isn't it a fact that the point of death is predetermined? It's not something that can be stretched or...
The point of death is predetermined. It can be changed by Krishna. Krishna can change anything. But we all have a destiny, and that's why there's a lot of interest in astrology. Because when you're born, if a good astrologer can, all you have to do is tell them when you're born and where you're born, and who you are, who your parents are, some information. And they can look at that and they can print out an itinerary. Just like I have an itinerary. I'm going back to Radhakala Chanjidam in Dallas. I have to fly to New Delhi, and then I'm supposed to transfer again in Chicago, and then get to Dallas-Fort Worth Airport. So similarly, an astrologer can tell you, you're going to be born, or from where you're born. He's going to tell you, how long you're going to be able to live, and then and then there's a point where you die, and it's right there on your chart. So yes, everything is predestined to some extent. We all have our karma. Karma means the reactions of our activities. So with what we do today, we're creating tomorrow's karma, or the future. So one thing leads to another. Whatever goes around comes around. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So that's why there's everything's kind of predestined, because what you do now results in what's going to happen to you later on.
So is it right to understand, Prabhu, that when somebody goes into a coma condition and is in a comatose condition for a month or two or whatever, it is actually predestined that they were destined to suffer like that? Is that the right understanding?
Yes, destiny is our suffering is all predestined because of who we are, what we've done. Then there's always that leads to what's going to happen to us. So therefore, one should take to Krishna consciousness as soon as possible, so that your future is good, so you have a bright, happy future. When I was introduced to Srila Prabhupada in Atlanta in 1975, Tamal Krishna Goswami said, "This is Bhakti Michael. He joined our party at a young age." And Prabhupada looked at me and said, "Oh, very good." Confirming that join young, join as soon as you can. You're really fortunate if you're born into this movement, the Krishna consciousness. They say that demigods are hoping that they'll take birth in the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu so that they can finish their business and go back home, back to Godhead. One time in New York, I saw Prabhupada passing out cookies to children, and this little boy, probably maybe 2 years old, he came up and paid his obeisances to Srila Prabhupada and folded his hands and then took the cookie from Prabhupada like somebody had been doing it, a long time. How did he know how to do that, And Prabhupada made a point. He said that don't think this is just point in time. These children are devotees, and they're taking birth in the ISKCON so that they can finish their business and go back home, to the spiritual world, because they didn't quite complete the program, what do you say, the mission, in their last life. But then, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, Krishna says that you just keep on performing devotional service, and you'll get there. You'll be again return Krishna, to live eternally full of knowledge and full of bliss. So thank you very much for coming. It's the 13th of December 2021, and I hope that all of you have a blissful Krishna conscious day. Hare Krishna.